championship mindset is always more important than skill set or talent, bar none. So that's the first thing. And you got to work on your mindset every single day. I work on my mindset every single day. Mindset is not something that you grow out of. It's not something that you ever check a box on, right? It's something that if you want to keep performing at a higher level, you want to do better and you want to do more, mindset is something that you're constantly investing in. So number one is a championship mindset. Number two is execution of the basics. Novices are always chasing trends. They're always chasing the new tactic. They're always chasing the latest, greatest thing. The vast majority of my clients that have had million or multi-million dollar breakthroughs in the last year, they live launched and they cycled their live launch.
Welcome to Super Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm your host, Shahid Durrani. Today we have with us Kelly Roach. Kelly is an entrepreneur, 11 times international best-selling author, top 20 podcast host, and a philanthropist. Wow. Kelly, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
No, it's my pleasure. It's great to have you. We were just talking about that live launch method, right? The one that was the most productive because the instructions that it gives you is just like step by step, right? Like it tells you exactly what to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just did a live launch recently, you mentioned?
We did. And it's so interesting because obviously we all know what's going on with the economy. We all know what's going on with the market. Everybody is aware of what happened the last couple of weeks with the banks. But what's really interesting is people are still buying. People are really still buying. Now, I think there are some important shifts to make, knowing the market that we're in and knowing the market conditions that we're operating in. It's definitely not business as usual, but we are absolutely still seeing that the live launch is thriving. It's alive and well. I would definitely recommend any entrepreneur that doesn't have a good system for selling one-to-many, learn the live launch because it will completely change your business. It'll change your life.
Yeah, no, definitely. I agree. And to the audience, and I'll vouch for this, it's a process that the information in that book that you want to actually become it. It's not like you just read it and then wing it. You want to become that information. You want to just know it like the back of your hand. You just basically want to become Kelly when you take that information and then start doing it. But don't expect it. If it doesn't happen that one time, you just got to keep doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually posted on social media about this yesterday. Like mastery takes 10,000 hours. And for most people, especially in the entrepreneurial space, they're not doing anything for 10,000 hours. Most people attempt something once or twice. And if it doesn't go the way that they expected or that they wanted it to, they're immediately like on to the next thing. And what happens is you're always a beginner. You're never developing mastery. You're never getting to the point where you can really scale your results because you're always starting over. And, that's what I talk to people about all the time and how I teach live launch. You do launch cycling. So you design a launch one time and then you deliver it every 6 to 8 weeks on an ongoing basis, the same content, the same launch. And it allows you to develop mastery, which is absolutely crucial if you want to take something and you want to scale it, which everyone says, quote unquote, that they want to scale. But most people are not willing to do what it takes in order to accomplish that, right?
Yeah, it's so true, Kelly. And no, I call it the chasing strategies, right? Like you keep chasing strategies and feeling the fear of missing out, that if I don't take this on, that I heard from my colleague that he's getting great results, that I'm going to lose out. Let me just park what I'm doing here. Let me go on this thing. Let me try this a little bit. 100%. Then I'll come back to this. I promise I'm going to come back to that, the self-talk. And then they try that for a little bit. Oh man, it didn't work. Let me just go back. Yeah. So it's always hopping, and the whole journey is the whole journey is spent on that, right?
Yeah.
Confusion.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
We were just talking about the live launch. I love that concept. So when it comes to Facebook and organic lead gen, right? the ways going into groups and finding groups that you can relate to, start posting questions, and then ethically messaging them and telling them about your event. Is that still okay? Is that still happening? Because Facebook made a lot of changes and,
Yeah, use
right?
that strategy, to be honest.
No?
We do not,
Oh,
we don't really use that strategy, and we don't really guide our clients to use that strategy because I think most people don't have the patience to do it the right way. You don't want
uh-huh.
to be spamming the people that are in someone else's
Yeah.
group. You don't want to be poaching the members of someone else's group. It's absolutely okay to
Yeah.
go into groups, add value, answer questions,
Yeah.
be
Addy.
a great resource for people. And then those people will begin to come over and contact you, and they will begin to
Mm-hmm.
pursue you, which is great. It's beautiful, right? We don't want people going into other people's group with the intent of starting to message someone else's community members or whatever the case. It's
Mm.
far more effective to grow your following and then do welcome messages to new followers that you get, and then invite the new followers that you get into your group. So, a really simple strategy that works very well is boosting posts on Instagram. And when you boost
I'm
posts on
sorry?
Instagram,
Oh, boost.
boosting
Yep.
posts on
Yep.
Instagram,
Mhm.
do it for $1, you can do it for $5. This is something that anyone can do. You don't need to have this
Mm.
massive ad budget in order to do it. And then what
Mhm.
happens is you're going to have a certain percentage of those people that are going to follow your account. And you
Mhm.
should have someone on your team that every time you get a new follower, you're going to send them a
Mhm.
welcome message. You're going to ask them what they want to learn, why they decided to follow, and begin a conversation with them. And then it very naturally feeds right back into an invitation for them to come to your event, your launch, whatever the case.
And then also doing the traditional media buying as well, right? Doing ads.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mhm. And how do you compare the live launch when it comes to webinars, right? You mentioned that webinars at this live launch is better in many ways. Are webinars still happening? And what do you feel the differences between the two that can
Yeah.
help people?
I'm not a person that feels like there's one right way to build business. My company, we use, gosh, probably 15 or 20 different lead generation strategies and monetization strategies. And we have
Mhm.
webinars and all of that. But webinars perform at such a minuscule fraction of what live launches do, mostly
Mhm.
because you're sitting with slides, it's a pre-recorded thing most of the time. It doesn't
Uh-huh.
give people enough time to connect to your brand in most instances to actually convert people. Just doesn't pack the same punch that a live launch does. And while I love webinars and I wish I had a different answer that, oh, yes, webinars can compare to live launch, I would love if you
Mm.
could just go live one time for 1 hour with a webinar and get the same result as a live launch, but it just
Mm.
doesn't perform that way. And we do a ton of testing. We run webinars ourselves, and the
Mhm.
results, they just don't compare. They're not even
Mm.
fractionally comparable to what we see with live launch.
Live launch, there's more of an engagement. You actually build a
Exactly.
relationship with the people in the
Exactly.
5 days. Yeah.
Yeah, like a way to think about it is like in a webinar, you're talking at people. In a live launch, you're talking with people. That
Mm.
is a huge distinction. That is a
Mm.
huge distinction, right?
You work with many different industries, and you mentioned
Yes.
the economic climates that are happening now. What advice can you share entrepreneurs right now? They're uncertain and they're beginning this challenging
Yeah.
situation or times. And how can they position themselves for long-term success nowadays?
Yeah. A couple things. First of all, it's important for entrepreneurs to recognize that the vast majority of entrepreneurs have such a small fractional market share that even if the market contracts, it's more their own headspace and fear that impacts their results than it is the actual market, because a lot of our markets are so fragmented. Most entrepreneurs have less than a 1% of 1% fraction of their market, which means that even if the market shrunk by 99%, they'd still have room to grow. So that's the first
Mm.
thing, just market understanding and understanding how the economics of all of this works. That's number one. Number two it's important to understand in this market that there is a reality of mass layoffs going on. There is a reality of inflation rate being up very high. There is a reality of the fact that there was all this stimulus money and all of this influx of dollars being pumped into the system, free credit, low credit over the last couple of years, and that's gone
Mm.
away, which means that you have to be selling to a higher tier of the market that you're in, because the lowest common denominator in most instances can't afford your products anymore. A lot of people are being knocked out of the buying pocket, so to speak. And in order to position yourself correctly, you need to really think about your messaging, your marketing, who you're speaking to, how you're positioning your brand to really create a conversation with the level of person that you want to attract. And I think you have to be far more intentional about that in this market than you would have been 6 months or 12 months ago.
When you work with entrepreneurs, what do you think separates the ones that struggle and fail and the ones that succeed? What do you notice?
Yeah,
What
well,
separates them?
yeah. So obviously, first and foremost is mindset, right? A championship mindset
Mm.
is
Yeah.
always more important than skill set or talent,
Mhm.
bar none. So that's the first
Mm.
thing. And you got to work on your mindset every single day. I work on my mindset
Yep.
every single day. Mindset is
Same
not
here.
something that you grow out of. It's not something that you
No.
ever check a box on, right? It's something
Mhm.
that if you want to keep performing at a higher level, you want to do better and you want to do more, mindset is something that you're constantly investing in. So number one
Mhm.
is a championship mindset. Number two is execution of the basics. Novices are always chasing trends. They're always chasing the new tactic. They're always chasing the latest, greatest thing.
Mhm.
Whereas people that are creating mastery understand that there are a few foundational basics, your sales system, your marketing system, your team. There's a few basic foundational things that you keep coming back to over and over again. And that's really what's going to drive results, launching being one of them. The vast majority of my clients that have had million or multi-million dollar breakthroughs in the last year, they live launched and they cycled their live launch. So they created a launch once and they delivered the same launch over and over again, which what that does is it creates a brand reputation in the market. And most small businesses have no brand. They have no brand reputation. And so because they're always starting new things and they're always chasing new tactics, no one really knows what they do. No one really knows what they're
Mhm.
claiming to be the best at. So, championship mindset, focus on the foundation of the basics, right? Execution of the basics. And the third is patience, because
Mm.
when you don't have patience, you change things too soon and then you never actually get results. And the
Mhm.
people that I see that are really crushing the ball in the business world, they're nimble. So they're making iterations constantly. They're constantly
Mhm.
iterating to improve what they're doing, but they're
Mhm.
not constantly starting over because they have patience to work to improve the output of what it is that they're doing.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I just wanted to quickly interrupt today's episode to announce something really exciting. I'm doing a 5-day live launch, July 3rd to July 7th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And it's called DIY, Do It Yourself, Studio Grade Podcast and TV, under $100 using AI. I'm blown away at what is happening in my world, and I wanted to share it with you all. If you're a business owner, if you're an entrepreneur, I'm going to share everything in this event. You're going to absolutely love it. And I would love for you to be there. Register via the link in the show notes and then join the private Facebook group called Mindset for Business Success. Thank you so much, everyone. And back to today's episode. Bye. Well said. Excellent. It reminds me, before taking initiative into mindset work, I was also hopping around a lot and had that shiny object syndrome. And when I started this podcast, I thought I was going to do the same thing. But at the same time, I was going through PGI's program, thinking to results. And it just makes you, with that mindset work, it makes you want to stay with it. If I didn't stay with it, I would never have been here right now, to your
Right.
point. Like I would have
Right.
been on something else, and it would have been that continuous vicious circle of
Yes.
chaos in my life. And so many months that I didn't see nothing happening. I'm so grateful to mindset and that training that I was able to have that foundation, that internal belief and that faith that keep going. So that actually entices, and it actually makes you better. And when you do anything else as well, because you just don't give up anymore. You just keep going in that one direction. Yeah. So are there any common traits or habits among successful entrepreneurs that you found?
It's the things that I said. It's the mindset. It's the repetition. It's the focus on the foundational basics.
Specific habits.
It's the patience. Habits, I would say they exercise. They take care of themselves. I think a lot of unsuccessful entrepreneurs burn themselves out, and they
self-care,
prioritize the business over everything else, and then everything kind of implodes, right? I would say habits, they exercise, they invest in self-care, they create prioritization in their life for their values, and that's what sustains them long term in business. Like when you know what's important to you and you prioritize what matters the most to you, I think that far greater likelihood that you're going to see those sustainable results. And of course, they don't try to do it on their own, right? Successful entrepreneurs have coaches and mentors, and they build a winning team, right? So they have both people that have been where they want to go that can help them get there, and they have people that they enroll in the vision and that they enroll in the journey to go there together.
I want to go back to the live launch. What about people that are just starting out and they don't have testimonials, they don't have reviews? What approach could they take with the live launch to make it successful?
Yeah, I would say, first of all, if you don't have any reviews or case studies yet, then you may want to think about giving a few scholarships to work with you so that you have the opportunity to lead someone through your work, help them to get a specific result, and then you have the ability to ask them for a testimonial. So the first thing I would say is, if you don't have those scholarships and people that you think would be ideal to get results, help them get a result, and then you have a result to talk about. So that's number one. And then number two is, for a lot of people that start a new business or they start a new program or whatever the case, you may be new in this one thing that you're doing, but you've done other things in your life. You've done other things in your career. You've had other successes. You've impacted other people in other ways. And so what I would say is, you can also bring people on as character witnesses. You can bring people on to talk about the experience of being in your life or working with you in another capacity. So everyone starts from zero. So the first time you launch a new product or a new program, no one has testimonials for that product or program because it's the first time they're launching it, right? So you can share case studies and testimonials from other ways that you worked with people in another setting, and that can be very powerful as well.
Very good point. Yeah, and they could also, if they have the results for themselves, they could also showcase that, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. You can tell your story. You can be a witness to the strategy yourself. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Very good. And Kelly, in your book, I remember you were talking about that you have to kind of have that faith, that complete belief and faith when you go about and launch your event. You just have that faith. So is that the same as being in spirit of it? Like actually whatever action you take, you just go with that sense of calmness and faith when you take that action and not doubt or worry about it.
I mean, I think
pretty
that's a
similar to
huge
that.
part of it. I think that's a huge part of it, right? Because you have to believe in what you're doing more than anyone else in the room. You can't have someone that you're trying to sell to have more faith than you do. So you have to be the ultimate person that's bearing witness to the power of the transformation that is possible with what you're teaching. And you have to trust yourself and have faith in the process and allow yourself to learn as you go. But absolutely, that is a huge part of success, whether it's launching or whether it's building your business or whether it's growing in any way, right?
And in your experience, did you notice that difference? Like someone that is just pushing and forcing and
Oh,
taking the
yeah,
action to
absolutely.
get
I
a
see,
result,
yeah,
and then someone that's actually feeling into the action. For me, before I was just taking action because I had to take action.
yes,
And now that I do things in spirit of it, like I really feel
yes,
every action I take, the quality is so much, the results are better too.
yes. What I would say is that I've seen many people go through the motions of taking action and not see a result. And I think that when you're not
Mhm.
truly invested in, or you don't deeply believe in, what it is that you're
Mhm.
doing, certainly the results are not going to deliver the way that you would
Yeah.
desire.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard for a lot of people to understand that. A lot of people to actually believe that they have something to do with the result in that sense. But there is some kind of power behind
Oh,
it.
absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great, Kelly. Can you share with us what you feel your innermost superpower is that got you to this point in your life?
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
A lot of things. I would say, first of all, discipline, right? I think that when I set my mind to something, I'm going to do what it takes to achieve it. And I think that's just a basic foundational thing with people that achieve success. So I think discipline is huge. I think I've always been able to see the potential in people that maybe they don't see yet in themselves. And I think that's why I've been able to coach people to such a high level of success, is that I can see for them what they can't yet see for themselves. And then I can help them to believe and to know what the power is of what they're capable of and how to step into that next level. And then patience. People see my company or they see my business and they're like, oh, 8-figure company, and we're on the Inc. 5000 list and best-selling books and all of these things. But that was years and years in the making, with lots and lots of
Yeah.
failures along the way, right? That was not a quick overnight success. That was a lot of blood, sweat, and tears, a lot of mistakes, a lot of failures, a lot of learnings, but having the patience and the fortitude to keep going. Those are the people that you hear about. Those are the people that you study, because there's the people that go through those challenges and then they set a lower goal or they quit. And then there's people that go through those challenges and they rise to the occasion and they keep going until they achieve ultimate success.
Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing
Yeah,
that, Kelly. That's one of our favorite questions that we ask on our show here. So
for
appreciate it.
sure.
And I want to say thank you for taking the time to come on our show today, Kelly. It was wonderful talking to you. It was an honor to meet you. It
Thank you.
was one of my most favorite strategies, the live launch. And I have to admit, I should have done it more, and I will get back to it as well. That's a commitment that I'm going to make, because I feel there is something in there that's
Absolutely.
calling me.
Yeah.
So
Great.
definitely. And also thank you so much for agreeing to help us promote this episode on your network,
Yeah.
because it helps us grow together, and appreciate that. It shows you have a big heart. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much
that.
for having me.
Yeah.
And I hope that everybody listening got something out of this conversation that they can use to grow and to achieve their goals.
I'm sure that did, Kelly. And audience, thanks once again for joining us today with Kelly. Her information will be in the show notes. Get in touch with her. Check out her website. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And information is next level. I'm sure she'll be able to help you go to that stage that you want to go in your life. And again, thanks for helping us grow. Appreciate you guys. And thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.